right, here we are.
We're back.
We have some interesting guests today. Man.
I know.
It's something that's really cool because a lot of people in the restaurant industry, especially chefs, more or less don't get to see this side of it because this side of it is the side that usually gets the brunt of it, right? You guys get the shit end of the stick sometimes because you put down the finger, right? Because someone has to hold everybody accountable.
Yep.
Come on. Here you are, and it's a great thing. So, the ACF, this is Dave. Yeah?
Yep.
Jack.
Jack.
Thank
and
you.
we have a great crew here. So, we're here at the World Food Championships, and you guys are crucial in overseeing this as far as judgment, things that are going on. Give us a little history on first of all, let's talk about the ACF for a minute because let's talk about that and then we'll get into it.
Well, the ACF is the American Culinary Federation, and the national chapter was started back in 1929. Our local Indianapolis chapter was started in the early 70s. And as far as the American Culinary Federation goes, one of the great things that they did early on, back in the early 70s, is really petitioning in Washington, D.C. and Congress and things to make the chef a profession instead of just like a trade. So they brought it into a professional organization.
Sure. And that is exactly what it is. It is a profession.
Yeah.
And with a profession, you need to have standards.
Absolutely.
And the standards, as far as chefs are concerned, typically in the kitchen, the standard of execution is pretty much where it ends. From that point, all levels of execution to the plate. Yep. Well, what goes on behind the scenes is what a lot of people take for granted.
Yep.
All the temperature controls, the FIFO, all that stuff. All these standards that come up are regulated and introduced in an educational platform.
Yeah.
We can't just learn it. You don't just, you learn it. Of course, the people in the kitchen on the streets learn it, but they're learning a system that's been in place and you guys help promote to educate, correct?
When you go out and have that fantastic restaurant experience, it's because somebody like us is back there to facilitate and make sure that happens. And a big part, I'm Jack London, if I didn't say, a big part of my initiative is certification. So if you think about a chef certification, if somebody's a doctor, somebody's a lawyer, you would hope that they've taken some type of standardized test. They went to some type of school to be able to certify them to do that. And it's the same in the chef world. So I'm the Indy certification chair. So it is my job, anybody that wants any level of certification, to lead them through that process. So there is a certification that starts with there's a written and then there's a practical exam portion. So somebody like me would help you through that process if you want to be CEC, which I am, Certified Executive Chef, all the way up to CMC, which is a Certified Master Chef, all the way down to just a Certified Culinarian, somebody really just getting in and learning.
That certification is a ticket, man.
Yep, absolutely.
That's not only a ticket, but it helps you do things like this. It helps you get involved. And if you're just going to cook and not care about the certificate, you're kind of selling that idea short.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're selling yourself short because some people might not have the exposure. But for people out there who are cooking and not really paying attention to it, a certification is a certificate, right? It's to certify knowledge.
Yes.
So if you gain knowledge, you earn your certificate, right?
Yeah.
So it's a guarantee that chefs, or no matter who it is, has the knowledge it takes to not only be able to cook the food, but actually do it in a way that's proper.
Yeah, it shows like an employer. If you're looking at two chefs and one's gone through certification, the employer can look back and figure out what that standard is that they've gone through, and they know that a board, if you will, has looked at them and has said, yes, they can do these things.
Showing a level of commitment as well.
Level of commitment is huge. So again, certification comes with knowledge, and commitment is proved by knowledge too. Knowledge comes with commitment. You don't just get you don't get all three of those together without one of the other part, the other factor.
Absolutely.
And there's different levels of certification too. Just coming out of culinary school or apprenticeship program, you've got a certified culinarian, which is the very bottom part of your certification. These standards, you should know how to do these things. All up to a certified sous chef, certified chef de cuisine, certified executive chef, and of course we have the same in pastry chef as well. Certified working pastry chef, certified executive pastry chef, all the same standards.
So you guys are holding up the professional explanation of the title.
Absolutely.
So we have chef is a chef is a chef. I say it all the time, Chris, right? We say it all the time. Anybody can call themselves a chef. Everybody can say, okay, I cook chicken wings. I'm this sports bar chef. Everybody says this. They throw around the word so loosely,
yes,
right? that it's not even fair sometimes.
Yeah.
So there are people who have gone through it and done the work and put in and have the brigades and teach and hold people accountable.
Yeah.
And then you have the people who just throw around the word, hey chef, hey chef, hey chef. Pizza chef, pastry chef, this chef.
I look at it as almost like we've been peer reviewed. So our peers, our colleagues have given us a written test, giving us a practical exam that we've gone through, and we've physically shown them that we can do these things. And we've been peer reviewed, and we go forward. And actually, Jack and I are both evaluators. So we actually go around and actually evaluate others and peer review them, and so they can earn their certification.
And it's up to us to show that professionalism. So if there is somebody that is not certified or hasn't went through, it's up to us to show what that standard looks like, regardless, and be an ambassador for the ACF and what it is we do and why it's important.
So if somebody's going through their certification process or their practical exam, and they're not living up to the standard, we're not shaming or anything like that. We want to make that a teaching opportunity and say, okay, the standard's up here. This is a better way to do it, and then give them an opportunity to come back.
So where do you guys register on the line of what most is commonly in the restaurants across America? The normal basic food handlers, managers, and certificates and handler cards and stuff. Is that something you guys focus on, or do you leave that to other entities? Or how does that play into your?
As far as sanitation and things like that, we don't do anything with. Other than our standard of sanitation. But if you're getting your ServSafe, we leave that up to other entities. We don't.
And that's part of the package. So once you get certified, you would have to be ServSafe certified because that's one of the certifications.
One of the criteria.
So do you and ServSafe kind of work hand in hand?
Yes, we do.
So you guys keep updating each other on the new standards?
And Ivy Tech, like Ivy Tech Indy is a big part of our program, and that's where they are doing certification. That's where they are doing the ServSafe certification. So we got boots on the ground here in Indy, in the community, with Ivy Tech in the partnership, and they do a lot with our ACF.
Do you know how many people are handling? This is a rhetorical question, but do you know how many people in the industry are handling other people's food and don't have a certificate of even the most basic
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Food handler's card?
Yeah.
The number one most essential part of wash your hands, they don't even have that card.
Yeah.
And I find it to be disturbing, especially in a place that doesn't have somebody to oversee.
Yeah, absolutely.
The professionalism. So it's very important that these words get out because it's for people's safety. Now, there's going to be chefs out there that are listening to this fucking dude.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's true. The more responsibilities I have, by the more restaurants I open and the more employees I hire and the more customers that rely on me and the more awards I win and the more things I go after.
Yeah.
It becomes more important because now we have accountability that we need to be held accountable. So how we hold my people. So I'm going to work my ass off to make sure my standard is high.
Yep.
What's left for the person at the lowest who comes to work with no passion?
Yeah.
They lost it 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You don't know it yet. So these are in places for that, right? The ACF is in place for this.
It is.
It's important to let people know that there's a lot of space in between somebody that says, I want to be a celebrity chef on the Food Network, and I'm working at a dead-end restaurant hole in the
There's
wall
a lot
somewhere.
of space, bro.
A lot
That's called
of
a
space.
highway.
And there's a lot that you can do within that highway.
Sure.
And a part of us is letting people know, because when you come to ACF meetings, you're working with education chefs, some restaurant chefs. I'm a chef that's in sales. I sell food for a living. Whether you're an assisted living chef. So you get a chance to meet a lot of different chefs, and now we're having that conversation. Like, all of our meetings are education based. So every time you come to an ACF meeting, there is an educational component. So one meeting I may be talking about Speed Scratch with Affinity Group and showing our products and how Speed Scratch can help in your kitchen. Another meeting might be doing urban foraging and talking about, people that forage mushrooms around. So each meeting, there's an educational component, and it does not cost to come to meetings.
So if you were to tell somebody, I asked you this question myself. So if you were to talk to somebody about this, a lot of people get intimidated by the one factor only. No one has time anymore to go to school. or get this certifications through programs, if you have 300 hours of schooling, is there something in place? What do you recommend for somebody who didn't go to school, but yet they've been in the industry for 20, 30 years? They are absolutely an executive chef, maybe even more.
Yep.
You know, the only difference between that and the master is the certifications.
Yep.
Right? So what do you recommend to that person like me?
There's a certain amount of the listed out. So a lot of experience goes into gaining your points, quote unquote, towards education. But there's online courses that we could take. And the ACF kind of lays it out, a 30-hour course on sanitation, which is going to be your serve safe.
Are any of these, okay, good to know. Is there any, so a food manager's card, I believe, is 30 hours of work.
Is going to take care of that. Another one would be, help me out on another one, but it's going to be some kind of business management, 30 hours.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, business, workforce,
and
supervision.
It also depends on the level. So if we're looking at a CEC, it's going to have these, but the great thing about moving up on those levels is everything kind of carries over. So by the time, if you start right out of culinary school looking for your CC, you're going to get that. And then just not very long later, you know, once you take this next course or you get the experience points, you're going to be able to test for your CFP.
So really, in actuality, like you just said, it's important to know this. So you come out of school and you already get something because you have the educational hours there to get you in.
Yes.
Now,
CC.
the crucial part now is the experience side is actually harder to get than the friggin' schooling.
Yes.
So a guy like me who might be complaining a little bit about, oh man, I got to go to 30 hours, this, that, and the other. Well, the other person who's already got those has to go through 10 years of work, of experience. And
it's almost the chicken or the egg. You know, which one should you have? But what I would say is for somebody that is getting in the industry and maybe you didn't go to school, there's equivalence. The ACF is going to look. They're going to look at just as far as what you've done in the industry. And if you have any certifications, how many hours, how many people you've managed. All of that goes in. So it's not a situation where if you don't have an associate's degree, you can't get certified. There's equivalence built into it.
And it must be because the industry is way too big
to
funnel it to just somebody who graduated school.
Yeah.
The industry, that's a small percentage of the industry.
So we say, like a supervisory, you need 30 hours supervisory. Instead of taking a 30-hour course, you know, maybe you sat through a 2-hour lecture over here and you got 2 hours here and you got 3 hours here. You can put 10 things together that are going to equal that 30 hours that puts that together.
I'm just being
absolutely
investigating here. So if I'm a chef and I have 30 employees and I'm an award-winning chef, you obviously did that with a team. Doesn't that right there signify that you obviously know how to lead a kitchen or a chef?
It does.
You know what I mean?
And that's factored in. Like they ask you, how many employees have you been responsible for?
Sure.
And that factors into it as well, because that shows that you already have that leadership and that you can lead a team. And like if you, like, let's say you won a medal, some culinary medal through an ACF sponsored event, that is equivalent too. So all of that factors in. So it's not pigeonholed to one way to get it. It all factors in.
If you've written articles for a magazine, or if you've taught, or if you've lectured or talked, you know, all that stuff counts towards.
So let's use me as an example. If I won Chef of the Year for 2024 from the Virginia Restaurant and Hospitality Commission.
There's some kind of equivalence for it.
Is there equivalent there?
Yes.
All of that.
So these are important things for people to know. So people just look at the like the bug light. They look down the tunnel of school, screw this, I'm gone. So there's a lot more to look at here. So does the ACF, if I were to go on their website or anything like that, and you're talking about what you just educated me on, food manager's card, okay, that's good knowledge. I didn't realize that. A lot of people have that. They don't even know they already part of that. Is there a list of schools or things that equivalent? That we can sign up for?
There's the list of everything, the basic requirements for education and work related. It's all listed there. But all ACF has them. Let me make sure it's 1, 2, 3 chef.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a link from our ACF website to 1, 2, 3 Chef, which actually has links to all of like the 30-hour online courses that you can do.
That's good to know.
And there's a lot of free courses on there too.
There's a lot of free courses.
You read about avocados and take a small test.
Okay.
that's an hour, and maybe an hour or 30 minutes.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's all
And if
about
you're doing it through that
continuing.
site, it must be collecting its own data.
Absolutely.
And
then
It
they'll
goes
tell you
right
have
into
this-
Yeah, once you get those certificates, you're turning them into the ACF. I'll do a shout out to Kiwi, who's the one on the other end of the emails when you turn those things in, and they keep track of everything. And then on the site or on your personal site on the ACF, you can look and see where you are on your continuing education and what you still
Sure.
need. And
This is great knowledge.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a great resource.
Yeah,
a lot of people
I'm
deal
gonna,
with need it.
I'm going to be at my level of chefing in the restaurant.
Absolutely.
I'm not in the ACF,
Yeah.
but I'm going to tell you this: I'm as
Now
me
you're-
being me. So I'm a level 2 wine somm because I had to go do that.
that counts.
You know what I mean? So
All
I
counts.
I had to go do
your
all that.
beverage, your everything's going to be taken care of there. You know,
Yeah, level
beverage
1. Sorry,
management,
level 1.
all that. Yeah.
But that counts there. So
Yeah.
now, what I have is, if I go do this and advocate for it, be an advocate of it, because I want to see for myself.
Absolutely.
It's not only to get the certification. I'm doing fine with that. Okay,
Yeah.
my restaurants are great. My name is Nate. My teams are great. That's not the point. The point is I'm an advocate for the actual learning and the educational part of it. The older I get, and
Yes.
the more experience I get, I'm realizing the value of education, because as people who pay, we end up losing the money.
Yes.
Whether we get fined or whether we lose people or whether we're losing product,
Yeah.
or temperature damage or first in, first out is not proper, or time
One
exposure,
foodborne illness will shut your restaurant
foodborne
down.
illness, all this stuff is very important.
Yeah.
So I am going to take this challenge and I'm going to go back. I'm going to stay contacted with you guys if you
Absolutely.
don't mind. Now you're stuck. See, now I hooked you.
Well,
That's what I like.
you have the 2 restaurants, so we also have property memberships.
Okay.
To where you can have your properties as a member, which then lets all the people working for you come on as members.
See, this is all
for-
knowledge.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to say this in the wrong way. I hope I'm not saying it wrong, but this all should be exposed further. This should
And
be much more put out there.
And we're trying.
This is the start of that process.
Okay, good.
Being
I'm-
at events like this,
Yes,
to be able
and
to
it's
talk
working.
about this, because a lot of it is kind of, I don't want to say it's a secret, but it's internal. We
Sure.
know this, and now it's us reaching out and coming to do events like this, so we can tell people what the ACF is, how to get involved locally. Right now, we're really trying to get as many members as we possibly can, and a lot of people don't know. You don't have to pay to come to an ACF meeting. Now, there's a fee once you decide that you would like to become a member, but to come to an ACF meeting, it is absolutely free. And you get to see what the resources, you get to talk to all of the chefs. Once a month, we all get together at a place. There's always food involved. There's always education involved, because at the end of the day, continuing education is the lifeblood
It's
of
key.
this industry.
It's key.
And it's networking, but one of the biggest things we try to focus on in our local chapter as well, because we do have a really good partnership with Ivy Tech, which is a culinary program. We try to stay connected with our high school level culinary programs and our college level culinary programs, and mentor the younger culinarians
Absolutely.
into it, and then talk to them about the return on investment of becoming an ACF member. It's not just network. It is networking, but it's mentorship and learning and being able to reach out to people to ask questions and things like that. So and then also holding each other accountable
Sure.
to
And then
certain standards.
jumping on platforms like this that didn't exist 10 years ago
Yes.
so
Absolutely.
quickly. This is also a good platform for us. And this is what the Burnt Hands Perspective is about, is reaching out
Lots of
to
burnt hands.
every facet of the restaurant or food service industry people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. So I'm now challenged. This is just from being here this weekend. I've already committed to having to go to Boston. I got to go to South Carolina to do a shoot now and learn about some South Carolina stuff. And now I got to get ACF certified.
Now,
And
yeah.
we're going to St. Thomas and St. Croix for another chef.
I
This is
love it.
amazing networking, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to make this. So if somebody wants to go do it, I live in Tidewater area. I know Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area. So if you want to get ACF certified, what do you recommend to these people? Do they go to their local chapter and
Yes.
reach out to them?
I would start with the local chapter. Some chapters are more active than others. Hopefully, your local chapter's very active, and they
Can I get a hall pass and just go directly to you guys?
Or you can. Hell yeah!
So you can join.
You can join any chapter. Yeah, we'd
Okay.
love to have you.
One reason why I became a certification chair was because in getting certified, there was so many questions that I had about the process. And then, like I said, sometimes there can be some element of
It's
secrecy.
confusion.
And I wanted to fix that. So once I got certified, I said I don't want anybody to ever feel like I felt Just the anxiety of, am I doing this right? Is this what I should be doing? Is this the right book I should be studying? I don't ever want anybody to go through that. So I became the certification chair,
Great.
so I can be the change that I
Now,
want
is
to
that
see.
certification chair just for your chapter, or
That's
is that for
our
national
chapter, but every chapter has a branch
Should
of
have a certification.
certification.
And you guys reach out to each other when need be. So you're gonna pull a plug. You're gonna plug me in there.
Absolutely. And if there's ever anybody that needs that, and that's always my call to action, because some people don't have the support when they're trying to get certified, and because they don't have that support, they may go for it and fail. Whereas there are small things that they probably could have did and been certified.
So we're here live at the show.
Yeah, it's going great.
Look, it's wild here.
Right now they're dropping
love
food,
it.
so there's
Good
a lot
times.
of cheering going on.
One of the other things about as we continue to get the word out about the ACF, or re-get the word out about the ACF, consumers and patrons of restaurants and hotels and things like that, I'd like to really see them understand what the ACF and our standard is, so that when they're making a decision on where to go eat, just like, they're going to see your health code, grade up in the window of the restaurant and say, okay, this is a good place. But also, I want them to be able to see, oh, this is an ACF location, or, member side, or we have ACF certified chefs here, so that they know that they're walking into a restaurant, they can expect a certain standard of product to come out for it, and feel safe. Again, it's not just, we put the health code up on the window or in the newspaper, so that people feel safe, there. But, really,
So you guys work hand in hand with the health department at all? Do you guys have a relationship?
We
We do.
do.
Actually,
We do some training with them as well.
Yeah,
so.
a couple members of our chapter are health inspectors, and sometimes that's the education. They come in and
So who educates who more? Does the health department update you, or do you update them? Or both
It's
hand in
a
hand?
collaboration. I know our
I-
health department has.
Yeah.
They have seminars sometimes where they will talk to chefs about some of the food codes and things like that. I mean, of course, with the FDA, they help put it together, but sometimes there is some collaboration, or they talk about a certain change and how it's going to affect people in the actual restaurant industry.
and then
that we've
how
been
long
involved in.
until the change goes into effect. And sometimes they will come to us and say, hey, this is coming. And that way it works for us to be able to use that information. So now when people come to meetings, hey, this is something that's coming. Maybe 6 months from now, but it's coming. And that's another piece of that educational piece of it.
So it's not. So being in the ACF or being certified is not a necessity, but it's a very, very
Absolutely.
esteemed thing, because it's knowledge. You're holding something, and it's, again, we're back to the passion. It shows that you have passion for the industry you chose.
Yep.
And that's what people more need to understand. That yes, of course, it's not a necessity. You're not trying to sell a necessity. You're not trying to sell, you're better than me, I have it, you don't. You're trying to sell a vision of everyone working on the same standard at the beginning.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, how you take that standard and how you produce it is your business.
Yeah.
But we all should start at the same foundation.
Yeah, we have the same standards, and so you take your same standards, you take the scientific techniques of cooking and things like that, and then each individual chef's going to put their artistry on top of that, and it's what you can make, from the artist standpoint. So, it really is, I think science and art. So the art is the individualized part of it, but, there are standards, and this is how you sear, this is how you, do this, and then, take it from there.
So how do you recommend to the people listening or watching, how do you recommend that they go the most easy? You were saying it yourself, and I said it too. It is confusing. When sitting here talking to you gentlemen has opened up my eyes to everything that I actually just closed the book on before. I was looking, I don't have time for that. I don't need that. Why the hell do I need to do that? I don't need to do that. But you're telling me that I got 90, you're telling me just from what you had, the questions I had, I got 60% of it already done.
Probably even more than that. So,
Yeah,
Probably so.
yeah.
And now you're telling me that my businesses can register too. Da, 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 da. This is important stuff.
It's certification. It's not a gatekeeping kind of thing. It's not out there to keep people out and so others can be part of a more. You're just like you said.
It's not an elite organization.
No, it's not elite. It's not gatekeeping. We're not trying to keep anybody out. We want everybody to get certified, because we want everybody working on the same, from the same
And
field.
Yeah, right.
certification is different than like competition, because competition is you versus me. Certification is, this is the standard. This is where we need you to be. How can we help you get
And let's
there?
compete from there.
Yeah.
Now that we're here and here, okay, now we can compete.
Yeah.
'cause
Right.
We both have the understanding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting thing. I'm really glad you got to sit here and talk to you guys about this, because a lot of the podcast itself, we're dealing with a lot of the actual in the restaurant, in your face, front of the house, back of the house nonsense.
Absolutely.
We don't get to touch base on this because in my area, be honest with you, do something here. We don't get enough of your representation there.
True.
So maybe that's me. So maybe I'm speaking totally out of line and it's fully represented, and I just yet haven't exposed myself to it, right?
The restaurant piece of it, there's a lot of education-based chefs in ACF, and a lot of restaurant chefs that used to see the benefit in it. A lot of them don't. It is up to us to get them to relook at the ACF and see what the ACF looks like in 2024. Looks a lot different than it did 30, 40, 50 years ago. And for restaurant chefs that have lost interest, like they're not going to be able to do anything to help or enrich anything, give us a second look and let us be the ones to show you that things have changed, because it has.
So there is things you guys do to get together, though. You have annual events. I'm sure you have national events and things. Are any of these mandatory to be at, or
No,
they're just all by
nothing's
choice?
mandatory. No, nothing's
So you have,
mandatory.
just like in any organization, you have the doers and you have the dids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got
You know, even-
5 people to do everything.
Even I think he was talking about the membership fee. It's like $200 a year, or $235 or
Well,
something.
everything of an organization needs
Yeah.
some sort of monetary donation to keep it afloat.
Yeah, and so we take that money and then we put it towards each community or each chapter puts it back into their community. So we're doing things in our community with those monies.
Scholarships.
And we
Okay,
have
good.
we have additional fundraisers that we do to bring in additional funds, and we do a lot of scholarships for high school students going into culinary students. We work with Skills USA and ProStart, which are high school and secondary culinary programs, competitions and things. And we give scholarships to those, and we help fund their trips to nationals, like the state winners. We give a grant to help them get to the national levels
Sure.
and
That's
pay
great.
for those things. And
That was my next question.
yeah,
as
and
you were
we
answering. So-
want to mentor them, and some of our members actually coach some of those teams. If not directly coaching, they're mentoring them in some way.
What about any type of fundraising or food drives or something? Does that qualify anybody to get any more in there, or is that not part of that as far as becoming certified?
Oh yeah. There's equivalents for about everything. So when you're just being a part of being on the board, being elected to the board gets you certain points that
So
you can.
yeah, so basically what you're saying, like anywhere else in the restaurant industry, work your ass off and the benefits come.
Yeah. I mean, just
Sit
coming
around, do nothing,
I think
you
just
get
coming to a meeting, we'll give you like 2 continuing education hours. Towards,
Sure.
So if you hit 12 meetings a year, there's 24
Right.
continuing
It's good.
education hours.
And
right
as
there.
much as the industry changes, continuing education is so important, because the reality today is not what it was 6 months ago.
Sure.
So if you don't have somebody constantly tapped in to the health department, to standards, to kitchens, you can get left behind. And I've had situations where I wasn't as tapped in and got left behind, and that's why I knew I needed to be connected to something bigger than myself.
Sure.
And the ACF is that, especially the
So-
ACF Indy chapter.
So to end this, man, because we can keep on going, I'm very interested in it, right? And I think, what would you say to people out there? I'm going to say this, and then I'll let you end it. I'm going to say that the ACF, again, may not be a necessity, but it's definitely something you should look into if you're in the restaurant industry, if you're working around people, if your hands are touching people's food,
Yeah.
if you're responsible for the outcome of someone other than the pleasure part of it. It's not all about the pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's not all about the beautiful, the plate and the palette and everything's so perfect. It's not about the stars and the golds and all the ratings. It takes the safety of it first too. Because small percentage are winning awards. The other ones are just serving food.
Yep.
And it needs to be done right. So ACF, what do you guys say as far as getting out there?
I would say reach out to your local chapter, and if you don't have a local chapter, reach out to the national chapter. ACFchefs.org is the national, and you can find all the local chapters listed on the ACFchefs.org website. You can find local chapters. It'll have all their contact information. So reach out to your local chapter.
Instagrams and
Yeah, and just start talking to those chefs and seeing how you can get involved and seeing how you can become a part of it.
Awesome.
And if
This is
we
great,
get
great.
you to come to one ACF meeting, anybody that is on the fence, come to one meeting, and by the end of it, I think you'll see the value. And like I said, it does not cost a dime to come to the meeting, but you open your world up to just a lot of support
Sure.
and love from a local chapter that is here to see you succeed. Because once
becomes a family.
the tide rises all boats, and that's what we're here to do.
And I know we're ending, but I look at it like you're gonna meet chefs from. We're all chefs. Some of them aren't even chefs. We just got food enthusiasts sometimes that come, but you're gonna find chefs from all different levels of their career, all different sectors of the culinary industry, and we're learning from each other. You're gonna learn something from the restaurant chefs over here, the hotel chefs over here, the guy running the hospital over here. There's so many different facets
That's
from
great.
it, and you're going to learn from it and bring something. You can always get something from somebody else.
Well, this has been a pleasure talking to you guys, and it's just, again, another thing a Burnt Hand's Perspective wants to bring to the table. Everything has a way. Every part of the restaurant industry is here, man.
Absolutely.
And we like to talk about it all. So,
We do.
so thank you very much.
Well, thanks
Chef
for having
David,
me.
Chef Jack.
Keep doing what you're doing, and ciao for now.
All right.
Thanks.